Hey everyone, and welcome back to Swift Guitar Lessons for another by request song tutorial. In today's lesson, I'm going to be breaking down my take on The Man Who Sold the World. This is going to be a hybrid version between the Nirvana Unplugged and also David Bowie's 1970 album version in standard tuning. I'm going to take you through that iconic intro line, the chord progressions for the verse and the chorus, and also my approach to soloing over top of the song's minor chord progression. As usual, I have all the tabs available for you at patreon.com/swiftlessons to help you with your practice. Now, let's get started with your lesson.
1, 2, 3, 4. We passed upon the stairs. We spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. He said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke unto his eyes. I thought you died alone, a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. We never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world. I laughed and shook his hand and made my way back home. I searched for form and land. For years and years I roamed. I gazed a gazely stare at all the millions here. I must have died alone, a long, long time ago. Who knows? Not me. I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world. Who knows? Not me. I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world.
Okay, a close look at the fretboard and also my pick in hand. We're getting started with our intro section. I'm in standard tuning, but I want you to keep in mind that the Nirvana Unplugged version is tuned down a half step. David Bowie's original 1970 version is in standard tuning. This intro part is going to sound like this. Very recognizable, but very simple riff. Okay, so that is the second fret of the G string and A note, and we're going to play that 3 times. Then the open G string. Then, if you're on an acoustic guitar, you're going to do as Kurt Cobain does. A hammer from 2 to 3, pull off back to 2, and then play the open G string, picked. that 6 times before going back to the 2nd fret of the G string. Now, in the rhythm side of things, we're going to have a D minor chord coming in on the 3rd repetition. So, just like that. On the 5th and 6th repetitions, the F major chord comes in. On the Nirvana version, that's being played by Pat Smear. Then it resolves back onto the D minor chord as the first verse comes in. Now, when you go to the F major chord, we're going to be strumming a pop strumming pattern. That is, down, down, up, up, down, up. That's the strumming pattern that's going to be used throughout the entire song. Now, one variation that you might see is down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Very common for them to throw in an extra stroke just to give it a little bit more variation. Okay, fantastic. Now you have that iconic intro down, you're ready to move into the first verse. We're going to start off learning the chords that we're going to be needing. The first one is A major. Alright, strumming from the A string down, make sure that you're using the chord diagrams on the screen. And also try to copy the finger choices that I have, okay? Even if you're used to doing an A chord like this or like this, try to use the middle finger, ring finger, and pinky on those 2nd frets of the D, G, and B strings. The next chord that we'll need is D minor. Okay, we're also going to need F major bar chord. Okay, which sounds great for this song. I like that very heavy, kind of thick sound that gives us. So the F major bar chord rooted off of the low E string. We'll also need a C major chord. Okay, and that sums up the chords that we'll be needing for this verse. Okay, now that you have the chords down, let's talk about the rhythm. It's going to be the exact same thing that I described in the intro that Pat Smear was playing. This is going to be a pop strumming pattern. Down, down, up, down, up, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and... But occasionally you're going to throw in that extra strum. So the first variation of the strumming pattern, down, down, up, down, up. The second variation, down, up, down, up, down, up. Going back and forth between those strumming patterns, those slight little differences, sounds great, especially when you're making a chord change. Now that you've learned the chords and the strumming technique, we're ready to move into the actual chord progressions. Now, quick tip, when I'm learning a song, I like to break up the verses and maybe the choruses too, depending upon how long they are, into different sections. So this first verse can be broken up into 2 chord progressions. The first one is A major for 2 measures, D minor for 2 measures, A major for 2 measures, then F major for 2 measures. Okay. The second progression is going to be C major, 2 measures, A major, same thing, 2 measures, then the D minor chord comes in for 2 measures, and then we're on to the C major chord for 2 measures, with a Mixolydian scale being played over top of it. That gets us into the chorus. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it if you don't know the Mixolydian scale. Okay, so back to progression number 1. A, D minor, A, F. Okay, preferably the bar chord version. That's going to sound like this. We passed upon the A. We spoke of was and when. It's a D minor, although I was in A major. He said I was his F major friend, which came as some sir. And on prize, we get to the next progression. C, A, D minor, C. Prize. I spoke unto his A major. I thought you died a D minor chord. Down, down, up, a long, long time up. Then the C major chord comes in for 2 measures. Go. Okay, and over top of those last 2 C chords, we have this great sound, the Mixolydian scale, which is a major scale with the 7th note flatted back 1 fret. So the way you play that would be 3 on the A string 3rd fret, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5. Okay, and that's one measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the C Mixolydian scale over top of a C major chord. Okay, awesome. You have the verse down. Now we're ready to move into the chorus. So the first verse ended with C major with that Mixolydian scale being played over top of it. Now, the chorus is going to start off with that same exact chord for one measure, C chord. All right. Then we're going to get to the F major chord. Then we're going to introduce another bar chord, okay, a C sharp major. All right. Then go back to the F chord. That's the first line on your chord sheet. Okay, so C chord comes in. Oh no, not me. We never lost control. Such a cool chord progression. So let's get down that C sharp major chord if you don't know it by now. There's two ways you can play it. You're barring the 4th fret from the A string to the high E string. Then you need to set up an A chord shape. Okay. Now that's an A chord shape on the 6th fret of the D, G, and B strings. But I prefer to play it with a double bar. So I'm basically barring the A string down to the high E string, but then my ring finger is placed over both the D, G, and also the B strings. So all 3 strings are being covered there. Now I might find that the high E string is being muted. That's perfectly okay, because if you watch the Unplugged video of Kurt Cobain playing it, he's kind of just doing power chords anyway. Pat Smear is covering a lot of the other real estate, okay? But what you want is a C sharp major chord, okay? All right, so line number 1 again, this time with the strumming pattern. Remember, down, down, up, up, down, up. The C chord. Oh no, not F. Okay, so 1 each, then the C sharp major chord. We never lost back to the F chord. Okay. Now you're basically going to repeat that again. This is line 2 of your chorus. Okay, follow along with the C chord again. Your face to F chord, face. C sharp major with the man who sold the world. Then we're going to go to an A major chord. Now you could do it like this, but that's not going to put you in position to do the intro reprise, which is basically what's coming up next. So what I like to do is I go from the C sharp major chord to the A with a bar. Okay, so I'm barring over D, G, and B string. All right, really 6 times there again, with the same chords behind it as we had in the intro. Use that bar shape. It's going to put you into position. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay. So now you have the full chorus. The C, F, C sharp, and F major progression on line 1. Then on line 2, C, F, C sharp, A into the intro reprise. Okay, so now that you have the chords for the chorus down, let's make sure that we know how to play the scales that are being played over top of those chord changes. So we've already learned the C Mixolydian scale. That's what is going to be played over all the C chords in the chorus. Okay, so oh no, not, then an F major scale, me. All right, let's get that down. So that's the 1st fret, F note, low E string, then going up to G, a whole step up. Then we have the A, open string A, 1st fret, that's a B flat. Then we're going up to C on the 3rd fret of the A string, open D. 2nd fret of the D string, it's an E note, and finally back to the F note, which is on the 3rd fret of the D string. Okay, just like that. So, going from C Mixolydian to F major. Okay, fantastic everybody. You have the intro part, the verse part, the chorus, all down. From here on out, it's basically just repeat stuff. The second verse is going to be the same as the first verse. The second chorus will be the same as the first. After that, we're going to do the intro lick 4 times. Use my demonstration as a guide. Then it's going to go right back into the chorus for a full repetition of that. Then repeat the entire intro again. And then from there, we're getting into basically the jam part, the guitar solo. Kurt basically just keeps it very, very simple, just kind of doubling what the cellist was doing on that unplugged version. But what I like to do is throw in some kind of minor-y Spanish influence and also blues licks over top of this really cool minor progression. Let's get into that. Okay, moving into the guitar solo now. I'm going to give you some of the tips that I like to use for minor chord progressions, but also I'm going to break down the mindset behind the licks that I chose in my demonstration. I'm going to do this all on my acoustic guitar, which should make it a little bit easier for you to hear without all that distortion. So, the intro part is what gets us into this guitar solo section. So, the main riff is playing. On the third repetition, you hear the D minor chord come in. Then the F major chord comes in. And that's when I started my solo. Over that F major chord, I found myself an F note on the B string. Alright, makes sense. Then the D minor chord came in. So I basically did what Kurt did to get to the D minor chord, a D note here on the 3rd fret of the B string. Okay, so over the F chord, basically I just played an F note. I knew the D minor chord was coming because I know the progression, and I walked down to it. Alright, very, very simple concepts behind that line right there. But then the A major chord comes in. Here I broke out on my own and I threw in a nice arpeggio line that I like to use. It's kind of has a bit of a diminished sound to it, okay, but it works great over top of A or A7 because of the notes that are in those chords. Alright, so this line sounds like this. Alright, really cool sound, kind of has a Django Reinhardt kind of feel to it. Alright, so that is the 7th fret of the D string. And I'm going back and forth between that 7th fret D string and the 6th fret of the G string. Alright. Then I'm going to go up to the 9th fret of the G string. And go back and forth between that note and the 6th fret of the G string. Notice how I'm keeping my fingers down so that way the notes kind of cascade against each other. Alright. Then my ring finger is going to find the 8th fret of the B string. I'm keeping that 9th fret of the G. Alright, back and forth. So far I have. Alright, I need to change the posture of my hand so that way I don't block that B string. Then finally, the last interval, I'm going B string 8th fret to the high E string 6th fret. Then I'm going to go to the 5th fret of the high E string, an A note, as the D minor chord comes back in. Why? Because that A note is inside of that D minor chord. Okay, so far we had the F major chord coming in. I played the F note. Then I went down to the 3rd fret of the B string for the D minor. Then the A chord came in, I played my arpeggio lick. And then made it back to the A note in time for the D minor chord. There I like to throw in a nice gypsy lick. Sounds like this. Alright, so okay, something along those lines. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking that 5th fret high E string, going up 1 fret to the 6th fret, and pulling off. and sliding back to the 4th fret of the high E string, a G sharp. Alright, very common in gypsy jazz. Okay. From there, the F major chord is going to come back in. Okay, so. So F to D minor chord comes in. So I like this line because all of its notes are found inside of this F major chord shape that I have here. Alright, so I have the 7th fret of the D string. I'll hit that a couple times. And then I'll throw in one of my favorite Spanish lines. Sounds great over F or D minor. Alright, so here I'm playing 7, 5 on the G, 7 on the G. Then I'm gonna play 5, 6 on the B string, hammer and pull those same exact notes. Then I'll go back to the 5th fret of the B string. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the beginning of the solo. Okay? 6th fret B, 5th fret, walking down to D minor. Okay? Alright, so everything you have so far. The F chord comes in. D minor chord comes in. A major chord comes in. The D minor chord comes back. Then the F major chord comes in. And then the D minor chord comes back. Alright, here's the next thing I did. I went from 3 to 5 on the B string. Alright, that note right there is an E note, which is inside of the A chord, which is the next chord in the progression. I threw in another little Spanish line, reminiscent of what I did before. Okay, so 6, hammer pull back to the 5th fret of the B string, G string 7th fret, and then vibrato, the B string, 5th fret. Okay. Then the D minor chord's gonna come back. Alright, so over that D minor chord, I'm here on the 8th fret of the B string. 2 taps there, then I did a hammer on up to the 9th fret. Okay, and I'm in D minor pentatonic. Okay, just so that way you know. Then I'm going to do a hammer with my pinky up to the 11th fret, pull off, back to 8th fret, and back to 10th fret. Alright, great little Spanish line. Okay, now jumping into the next lick in the solo. This one takes place over top of F major. So I was picturing this F major chord shape barred off of the 8th fret of the A string when I came up with this lick, which kind of has a bit of an Allman Brothers kind of vibe to it. So basically I took that chord shape and just played a piece of it on the 10th fret of the D, G, and B strings. So you can take those notes, then play the 11th fret of the B string, back to the 10th fret, 10th fret G, 10th fret D, then go down a whole step to the 8th fret of the D string, down a half step to the 7th fret, then we're going to do this great little line. Alright, so that's me taking my pointer finger, hammering, a half step up, and then pulling off back. My pinky reaches for the 10th fret of the A string, and then going right back to that 7th fret of the D string, okay? Alright. Alright, that's what I played for that F major chord there. Okay, moving on to the next lick. This one's over D minor, and I'm going to be going after a bluesy edge here by using the D minor blues scale. right, this lick coming out of the F major chord. Sounds like that. Okay, one more time. Trying to keep my alternate picket going. Okay, so the first little part of that lick. 7th fret D string, hammer and pull from 5 to 6 to 5. Then I'm going to go to the 8th fret of the A string. Back to the 5th fret of the D string. Then again to that 8th fret of the A string. Next we have a very cool little phrase there, super bluesy. The root note, 5th fret of the A string, 8th fret of the E string, then take the pinky down a string, 8th fret of the A string, bend in, and then resolve back on the root, 5th fret A string. Okay? Part 1, part 2. Then I'm going to hit the dead strings, covering up. Then I'm going to play this nice little bend. Alright, think about the D minor chord shape. Alright, add in some tension there, bending up that minor third. That's the 6th fret of the B string getting bent, but I also have the high E string 5th fret, gaining that tension. Okay, so one more time, going from the F major chord to the D minor. Alright, that's going to get me to the next lick, which is basically a crescendo lick for this solo. Okay, so next we're going to learn the final lick, my crescendo lick for this guitar solo, and it basically allows us to go from the A major chord back to the D minor chord and then resolve as the song ends on F major. So, this lick is going to sound like this. Alright, back into the main theme. It starts off bending the B string 13th fret up a whole step as you hold on to the 10th fret of the high E string. Then I'm going to play that 10th fret high E string. Then walk up 12 to 13. Then I'm going back to the 10th fret of the high E string. Then I'm going to go to the 12th fret of the high E string. Then to the B string 13th fret, which has a great sound. We have the lick. Big bend. Then from there it's just stacking. Alright, the pointer finger does the E string and B string 10th frets. The ring finger and middle fingers do the 13th and 12th frets. Alright, the pointer finger again barring over the B string and the G string, 10th frets. Alright, then we're going to the G string and D string, 12th frets. It's my ring finger and middle finger. Then same strings, but on the 10th fret with the pointer finger. Alright, then the D string and the A string, 12th frets. Then the D string and the A string on the 10th frets. 12th fret of the A string down to the 8th fret. Then we're going to slide from 10 to 12. And play the intro line, but in a totally different position. 12, 12, 12, 10. Then hammering up a whole half step to the 13th fret. And then back to the 12th fret. And then I'm there on the 10th fret of the A string. Okay, and I do that whole thing again. And resolve on the 12th fret of the A string, an A note, which is inside of an F major chord. So it sounds very much resolved. Okay, that's amazing. You've gone through every single lick that I played in that solo. Now, if you're kind of an intermediate player, I would suggest that you just practice those licks over and over again, one at a time. Then start trying to string them together, and you can play along with the backing track that I made available to my patrons at patreon.com/swiftlessons. Remember, it's only $1 a month to join that club. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through that entire solo, but I'm going to call out the chords as I go. So the intro reprise is happening. The F chord comes in. All right, we're going to go to the D minor. Right there. The A major chord comes in. D minor. F major. D minor again. Here comes the A, looping back around. And back to D minor. Here comes the F chord. The D minor. Blues scale. A7. D minor. F major resolve. Alright everyone, thanks so much for checking out this lesson on David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much to my supporters at patreon.com/swiftlessons. I hope you're enjoying the ebooks and tabs and all the other resources. I got many more videos coming up, so keep checking back. Please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.